Now, the key is you got to stop using that credit card.
Right.
You can't pay off this one and then run one up over here. And unfortunately, that's what happens to a lot of people. They pay off this one, but they're running up this one. And then they pay this one. It's like kind of like whack-a-mole. You know, they're trying to whack-a-mole. You've got to stop the spending.
Well, there are
reduce the spending.
There are people that are into their personal Ponzi schemes. I mean, doing exactly what you just said. They pay this one down. That looks great. FICO score goes up for a few days, few months. And then they're back over on another card. And by the way, I cannot tell you all my life how many cards I get invited to join with every year.
Oh, yeah. I shred them all. I put those in the shredder. Yeah, I carry several credit cards. I pay the balance off every single month. I never carry a balance on a credit card. I pay it off every single month. Now, some people say you should cash out your savings. I would say you don't want to cash out all of your savings to pay off your credit card. Now, if you have excess savings, maybe you want to take some of it as earning 1% and you're paying 21% over here. It will work if you pay that off as long as you don't charge up a bunch more money. Some people have an emergency fund of 6 months, and they say, well, look, if I took that and paid off a credit card, my credit card line of credit could be my emergency fund. That can work for some people. Like if you've got adequate resources and you've got, a house that's worth money and you've got 401ks, you've got other assets. Yeah, I've used lines of credit as my emergency money at some points, but you've got to be very careful about doing that.
Well, what about this thing? I've heard you talk about borrowing from. Now, most people have life insurance, maybe not cash value life insurance. But for people who do have cash value life insurance, that interest rate's pretty low.
Yeah, and you can borrow from your life insurance policy. There's this whole thing out there, bank on yourself, bankonyourself.com. And what that is you just buy a bunch of whole life insurance, and then you've got adequate resources that you can always borrow from yourself, and that you don't ever have to go to a bank, you don't ever have to go to a credit company. You can always just do it yourself with your life insurance policy.
It's pretty low number. Hey, but what about borrowing from your 401k? I've heard traffic on this on the web.
Yeah.
Good and bad on this.
Well, look, you got to be very careful. I mean, certainly you can borrow from your 401k, and when you pay it back, you're paying it back into your account. But here's the problem. If you lose your job, or if you retire, you stop working there, you got to pay that back, and you got to pay it back really immediately. I mean, there's a little bit of a time frame, but not much. You've got to pay that back, and if you don't have the money to pay that back, that's a premature distribution, penalty, and taxable.
And think about it. Some employers, if you leave the job to go to another job, right, they're going to not transfer it until you do pay it back.
Right.
There's issues.
You have to pay it back. So that one would be you'd have to be very careful.
Well, now I know a lot of people say, hey, I've seen a lot of cards come out and say, hey, listen, low interest rate for 90 days. Sometimes that could be an arbitrage way to pay down your debt if you really dedicate it for 90 days to play. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. You can transfer to another card, get a low interest rate for 60, 90, 120 days. But again, are you going to be disciplined not to start charging up somewhere else? See, the key is you want to get out of debt. You don't want to keep staying in debt. And so at some point, it all comes down to you have to spend less than you make. That's what it comes down to. Right now, too many people are spending more than they make, and you can't do that. You've always got to. My entire life, I've spent under what I made. Even when I was a second lieutenant in the Army, made $13,000 a year, I spent less than that. All right? And then with every pay raise, what I did was I took half my pay raise and I put it towards savings, and then half the pay raise towards increasing my standard of living. And it worked out very well. I did it right out of the gate.
I'm thinking, when we're talking about reducing debt, we have to be talking about creating a budget too. And so we're going to spend a whole show on how to make a budget, create a budget. This is really something. But you said cut spending. I mean, everybody, I can't even get the government to give me a good example of this. They can't cut spending.
Right.
My state's not cutting spending. My county's not cutting spending. Everybody around me is just rolling up the tab, paying more on their interest charge. When we're talking about cutting, it's tough. If you've had a certain lifestyle living off plastic, it's tough to migrate over to good budget habits. Talk to me about what would you cut spending first? What's one of the things you say this would help you so much?
It is not that hard. It is not that hard. Look, stop buying brand new cars. Go out and get a car that's a couple years old, 12,000 miles on it. You get it for half price. If you did that for the rest of your life, it's going to save you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Stop buying so much clothes. Go to Goodwill. Go to there's these secondhand places for clothes that have brand new clothes. They've never been worn. They still got the stickers on them, but somebody bought them for, $300 and they're selling them for $42. Go to some discount stores, Ross Dress for Less, TGX Max, Steinmart. Look, these places have name brand clothes, but you're not paying name brand prices. All right. So I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it. I think it's ridiculous when people are spending so much money on stuff that they don't even need.